return to a couple of scriptures from the Psalms. But my people would not listen to me. Israel would not submit to me. And verse 12, so I gave them over to their stubborn hearts to follow their own devices. Oh. Or their own counsel. I like devices. I just gave them over to follow their own devices. In June of 2013, in Sonoma, California. Now, I'm not a NASCAR fan, but I like this story, and it fits, so I'm going to use it. Juan Pablo Montoya was racing. He was behind Truex. Gail, Randy, you probably know this. He's behind Truex the very last lap. And he hadn't won anything since 2010. He was down in the points. He needed the win. And he just about got it. And what happened? Ran out of gas. You wouldn't think a NASCAR driver would have that issue. You know, the basic things like, well, engine there, tires, gas, go, left, left, left. You know, it's pretty basic, right? Pretty basic. But he was second, and he almost got it. And then he coasted in on fumes and came in 34th. And I could just imagine the conversation he was having during this whole time as he was coasting in. But you would think something basic like that. Well, sometimes we make mistakes. Sometimes we don't have all the answers that we think we have. You know, there's a spotter that does all that stuff to these guys as they go around. I mean, it's a complex business. Complex business. Computer this, computer that. The gas is only, you only have to have so much in there to make sure they get there. And if they're running in a pack and it's heated up and there's a lot of fumes, the cars aren't as efficient. So if they're on a straightaway, they get more gas mileage. And all that stuff goes into all of this. But somebody somewhere made a decision that wasn't, that they shouldn't have made. And he coasted in. Did you know? 1876, Luke, you should know this. It was a good year. It was a good year. It was the end of Reconstruction, right? It was the year that our sister church, Maiden's Chapel, was formed. It's also the year that Alexander Graham Bell invented the telephone. Now, Alexander Graham Bell invents the telephone, and he takes it to Western Union, the guys that run the telegraphs. And he says, I've got this great idea. I'd like you to work with me, and we'll patent it together. And what do they say? No. They know best. They know best.
No foresight.
No foresight. Not even. You would think whoever made that decision. Well, I don't know what would happen to them. I guess they'd be transferred somewhere in Kansas. Or North Dakota. That's it. Or North Dakota. Yeah, that's right. That's right. 2 years later, they approached Alexander Graham Bell and they tried to buy the patent. They offered him $25 million, and he turned them down. What's that in today's dollars? Like 658 million. 27? $27.52. No, it's like $680 million. Now, an invention that would transform the world, that's a pretty good price in today's market, I guess. But it's amazing what people do when they don't take advantage of all the resources that they have and ask around. There was a group in England, little band that was forming up, and they wanted to play some different kind of music, and they went to Decca Records, and they asked Decca Records if they would put them on the label. And Decca turned them down. They said, well, nobody's going to listen to that kind of music. And that group is? The Beatles. The Beatles. They went with EMI, and then they formed their own group. The Tower of Pisa took 177 years to build. But they built, yes, that's true, I wouldn't lie to you. But they built it, and Terry, if you were going up, how high is the Tower of Pisa? Anybody know? I mean, it's real high, but if you went down, it's shorter now. Thank you. They only went down 3 meters in the foundation, and they put it in some sand, so the thing was always sinking, and it always listed, and then finally, I guess within the last 10 years, they propped the thing back up. But you think you would ask questions and get things right. A good engineer could look at the size of the hole and the size of the foundation and determine how high up that building's going to go. But these are things that they just didn't think to ask. I guess. Here is the song that we sang, A Mighty Fortress is Our God, was written by Martin Luther. Luther visited the fortress of Mont Saint-Michel, fortress church at the end of France, on an island out there, impregnable. And when he visited it, he said, this is what I want to talk about. This is what I want to talk about this about my God. So he wrote the song and he put it to a very popular tune in Germany at the time, which was a beer drinking tune. So everyone would know the tune, and hence you're part of that now. I just thought I'd share that with you. You're part of that. But Martin Luther also said this about prayer. And if we're going to be listening to God, that's prayer, that's being in prayer. And submitting to God has to do with our humility, that sometimes we just don't have all the answers. And we need to ask, we need to be patient in our asking, and patient to receive. And sometimes the advice that we get, well, sometimes we just don't have all the answers. And it's okay to ask. He said, to be a Christian without prayer is no more possible than to be alive without breathing. To be a Christian without prayer is no more possible than to be alive without breathing. Martin Luther. Charles Spurgeon, a theologian in the 1800s, said this: if any of you should ask me for an epitome of the Christian religion, I would say it in one word: prayer. Live and die without prayer, and you will pray long enough when you get to hell. They preached differently in the 1800s. A little direct, but I think you catch the drift. Prayer. We have a God as parent that with the story, it's like we talked about, it's cyclical, isn't it? It just continues and continues. We have a people that thought they knew better. They knew the way. They wouldn't pray to God. They wouldn't look for direction. They wouldn't ask for directions, kind of like a lot of guys today when they're driving. But they wouldn't ask for direction. God is very willing to give them whatever they asked for. Brought them out of Egypt, delivered them, set them in a new land. Anything they would ask for, he would provide for them. And their arrogance. And in their arrogance, they wouldn't ask. Here is a parent that would love to give their child the best things. And the child doesn't ask. That's us. We get so wrapped up thinking that we have the answers, that we seem to think that there is no place in our lives for that conversation with the one who loves us the most. It's like being in a marriage or in a relationship where you love each other, you want to be with marriage, family, friends, whatever it is, you love each other, you want to be in each other's presence. Because you know that you can say things that are honest, and you hope that they're reflected back to you in an honest way. What you don't look for is a narcissistic response. Narcissus, beautiful young man who traveled out in the woods to hunt. I don't know if he was looking for game or if he was looking for echo. You know, remember the nymph or whatever it was that would follow him around and say whatever he said? That's echo. But Narcissus came across a very shallow pool, and he had never seen his reflection before, and he looked into it and he fell in love with it. Right? That's the essence of narcissism. A lot of people do self-love and do their Christian faith that way. That we love only those who look like us, and we just love each other, then at that point love ourselves. Narcissus wouldn't leave the pool. And he laid there because he didn't want to leave his reflection, and he starved to death. Well, that's tragic, isn't it? But here's a now you know the rest of the story, as Paul Harvey says. Everybody knows about Narcissus, but then you don't realize it. Oh yeah, he stayed there. He loved himself so much he wouldn't leave, and he starved to death. That's the rest of the story. We have a God. I just don't know how to say it any plainer than this. Without prayer, it's like trying to run a NASCAR race without gas. It just doesn't work. Your life is to be rooted as a Christian in prayer. It is a conversation with the one who desires to know you, who does know you, who wants to hear from you, who desires very much to have a relationship with you. Not not in a narcissistic kind of way, where everything is just reflected back to us. That's pretty shallow. That's pretty shallow. But God desires a relationship that is deep, abiding, and nurturing. And you can go as high as you can with that, because your foundation is deep. You've taken the time to be with the one who seeks to love us and guide us and nurture us in our faith. I didn't say religion. I said faith. And there's a difference. This is who we are at core. Our prayer reorients us in our relationship. Prayer gives us those markers. What you don't want to do is think that you've got it all figured out and you just kind of miss the finish line. You run out of gas, you run out of prayer before you finish. Let's not do that. I have been driven many times to my knees by the overwhelming conviction that I had nowhere else to go. My own wisdom and that of all about me seemed insufficient for the day. Abraham Lincoln. What was true for Lincoln must be true for every one of us. When left to our own devices, our charity looks narcissistic. When left to our own devices, our love turns into self-love. When left to our own devices, that is not where God desires to leave us. That might be where God finds us today, but that is not where He wants to leave us. Claim your birthright as a child of God. Here, we're going to partake in the finest wheat and in the honey from the rock. Honey from the rock, what a great expression. Like Moses in the wilderness when he struck the rock and water came out and he was able to give the children of Israel sustenance. It is here, and remember, that God can create out of rock. And even when your prayer life looks like it's not going anywhere, and it looks like things are piling up on you, that is grist, that is grit, and it is there that we are polished and turned into wonderful stones. We are polished, and we are changed, and we are made new into something useful and beautiful. Pray through it. Pray through it. Yes?
You know, when clay gets really hard, it turns into a stone.
Yes.
And then you add a little love, which would be plain water, and it comes back right. Then I can fill the bowl, or...
Yes, yes. And as a potter, you understand that.
So it kind of goes...
That if we allow God to work with us and meet us,
Even when we're stone.
even when we're stone, we can be molded into something useful for the Lord. Thank you. Thank you. It is here that you receive the finest wheat, the best gifts, the new wine. Please come and receive.